If you're dealing with any kind of chronic health issue, I don't care whether it's cancer, autoimmune conditions, IBS, or just overall feeling fatigued and low on energy, there's 9 tests, blood and urine tests, that I think everyone should do. Even if you feel really healthy, these are a really good idea to do just to get a baseline. You wouldn't do them all the time, but doing them once to see what you're having to manage or having to deal with is a really good idea. And unfortunately, your regular medical doctor is normally not going to test for all these things. They'll do some general screening tests, but not these things. Now, why are these important? Well, at the heart of every chronic health issue, in my opinion, people either have one or a combination of underlying infections, like parasites, Lyme disease, viruses, something like that, underlying toxins, like environmental toxins, glyphosate, or deficiencies of our micronutrients. So, what are these tests? Number one, let's start with leaky gut. If you have a leaky gut, then that means your intestines are way too open and permeable. There's too many particles and toxins and things getting into your bloodstream. It's driving up inflammation. It's jacking up your immune response to everything. And this is, to me, what drives every single chronic health issue. So if you don't find out that you've got a leaky gut and fix it, then you're never going to be able to fully deal with whatever chronic health issue you're facing. So what should a leaky gut test look like? Well, we want to test for intestinal permeability, and then zonulin, which is what tells our gut to open up, and we need some of it because sometimes it has to, but if there's too much, we have a problem. And then the antibodies that our body makes in response to zonulin, as well as a few other things like actin. Number 2, we want to look at a couple of different infection tests. The first one I recommend, I use a company called Vibrant Labs for this one, where they'll test for parasites. So you're looking at something like toxoplasma, but then they'll also test for viruses like Epstein-Barr, the herpes viruses, parvovirus, stuff like that. So with Vibrant, you can get all of that in one. It's not a bad idea to also do a stool test if you suspect parasites, and I've got some other videos on how to know if you have parasites or how to suspect that you might. But the stool test, if you collect it over 3 days, something like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you're going to have a good chance of catching multiple different types of parasites in your stools to truly know what you've got. But I'm finding, well, they estimate 85% of Americans have parasite infections. I'm finding at least that. But the toxoplasma is the one that most people test positive to. It's a microscopic one that they will pick up in the blood. If you have parasites, then I use a company called Cellcore that has an amazing comprehensive protocol that takes 10 to 15 months that will not only wipe out the parasites, but it will also target those viruses and a lot of the underlying toxins and heavy metals and things like that. Now, the other infection test that you want to run is a Lyme panel. You've got to see if you've got chronic health issues, you've got to test a Lyme panel. Borrelia is running rampant right now. It's so common. So many people have Lyme disease and don't even realize it. Hey there, I just wanted to let you know, as a thank you for watching my video, I wanted to send you my free guide on the 13 foods to boost your mood. So you can click in on the link in the description if you want to download that. There's so many people watching this video who are probably suffering with gut health issues, and sometimes even just changing the foods we eat can make all the difference in the world. So that's my free gift to you. Please grab it, take advantage of it. Anyway, back to the video. You'll often have those other co-infections with it, like having parasites, Epstein-Barr, those kind of things. They'll often be found with the Lyme disease. And again, we can target all of that with a comprehensive protocol like Cellcore has. Now, the symptoms of Lyme disease, the problem is they match what a lot of these other underlying infections have. So it's very hard to tell which one you have. That's why it's good to test for all of this. The fourth test I recommend is the environmental toxins. You want to make sure you're testing for glyphosate because that's in virtually everything we eat right now. And it's terrible for the gut. It just tears it open. From the research I've seen on it, it's also a very strong driver of cancer, especially non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. But then you also want to see, how does my body take up things like parabens from skincare and phthalates and BPAs from plastic and non-stick cookware? Because if you're taking up more than you should be, then you can start getting rid of those things so that you're not dealing with it all the time. The fifth test is heavy metals. Now, with heavy metals, you have to be cautious in how you do the testing. The absolute best way is to go and have a 15-minute IV ran through your veins first with a calcium EDTA, which is a chelator. Why you do that is it'll pull some metals into the bloodstream from where they're resting in your body, in the bones and organs. Then you go into a 12-hour urine challenge, and that will show you truly what all metals you're dealing with. The problem is without that provocation test, you might be very high in metals. For example, I tested very high in heavy metals, but when I did the urine test without the provocation, I tested mild to moderate, but not very high. When I then went and did the 15 minutes of the EDTA into my body and then did a urine challenge, I was off the charts on multiple metals. So you can do it just a standard urine or hair analysis, but just be aware, if you test high on that, then you're very high. If you test low, that doesn't necessarily mean you're low. So I really do like those to be done with the IV first if you have somewhere to do it. And if you have heavy metal toxicity, you need a lot of binders, a lot of oral binders like bentonite, clay, activated charcoal, stuff like that. And you can go and do IV treatments for chelation to pull it out as well. The next test I love that I think everyone should do is the fatty acid panel. So we know that our omega-3 is anti-inflammatory, our omega-6 is pro-inflammatory. We do need both, but we should be about 1-to-1 in our measurements. The average American is anywhere from 25 to 50-to-1 of omega-6 versus omega-3. So no wonder we have a chronic health issue with all that inflammation. So a good fatty acid panel is going to check your total omega-3 index, as well as the EPA, DPA, and DHA that makes that up. It's going to check your total omega-6 index, as well as the LA, the linoleic acid, and the AA, the arachidonic acid. But then the ratio I love the most, again, this is from Vibrant that does this one, is the AA-EPA ratio. This thing will go high, showing inflammation well before the other inflammatory markers, like a high sensitive C-reactive protein or anything like that. So if you test high on that AA-EPA, you know I immediately need to make changes to get my inflammation levels down. So those early signs of inflammation, those markers are such a valuable test. Next is an extended lipid panel. So just getting cholesterol, LDL, HDL, it really doesn't give you much value, especially if you eat a high saturated fat diet, but they're all good fats. Lots of avocados, olives, extra virgin olive oil, MCT oil, all of that. Your cholesterol is going to be up, but that doesn't mean you're unhealthy. Cholesterol on its own is not the problem. It's the really nasty cholesterol and the things like triglycerides, which your doctor will test for. But you also want tested the oxidized LDL, because all LDL isn't bad like we've been led to believe. We want the oxidized LDL, the LDL particle number test, and it's not a bad idea to throw in there a high sensitive C-reactive protein just to see if that's already moving, because that will be high if there's inflammation. It could mean you're having an acute infection, it could mean that you're dealing with cancer, it can mean anything. It'll just tell you there's a lot of inflammation. Again, not as sensitive as that AA-EPA ratio. And then also some of the apolipoproteins is also a good thing to have in that extended lipid panel. Why does it matter to chronic health even if you haven't been told you have heart risk or anything like that? Well, inflamed arteries is a very early precursor of a lot of bad things to come. Maybe clots, heart attack, but also you'll just be inflamed in the arteries if you're dealing with a lot of chronic inflammation and chronic health issues. Number 8, you probably want to test for mold if you're dealing with a lot of chronic fatigue style symptoms. Mold is so bad and it's so insidious. So you get exposed to it, you don't necessarily know, and then all these mycotoxins stay within your body. And they affect your body in so many ways. They create all sorts of serious health issues. They drive autoimmune disease, they drive cancer, they affect your nervous system. They will often cause Hashimoto's and other thyroid problems. They just trigger all sorts of stuff. Now, the treatment to get rid of mold, again, I like Cellcore. They have a mold protocol that can take 3 to 6 months to get rid of that. Or if you've got all this other stuff, you just jump on their comprehensive protocol and you'll wipe all of it out. It just takes longer. But you'll also often have these mycotoxins together with Lyme disease. So you can see how all these different toxins and infections all seem to come together, and that's why they kick people's butts so much. And then the last test, you want to do a really good quality micronutrient panel. because you need to see what you're deficient in, because that's how you know, well, what supplements should I be taking? What's my vitamin D levels like? What's my magnesium, my CoQ10? All of those, all my amino acids, all of those things are a really valuable thing to get tested. So if you're not sure where to go or what to do with these, and you think, you know, I've got these chronic fatigue symptoms, I feel like I've got chronic health issues, I'm dealing with autoimmune, and I'm frustrated that my doctor's not getting me any answers, then that's where joining a group like my free Facebook group is going to be really valuable for you. You can see the link down in the comments or across the screen here, because in there I break down all of these tests, how to do them, what you should do with them, and if someone really needs help with it, I can definitely help them with it, but sometimes just knowing the information is valuable enough. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of clarity on where to go next if you've been frustrated with some chronic health issues.